I refused to let my neighbor's cousin stay in my guest house while she got back on her feet. The next morning, the locks were smashed and a strange woman was sleeping in my bed. When I demanded answers, my neighbor scoffed. "It's not like you were using it." I called the police, but the woman screamed. "He promised me this was mine now." And in her bag, they found papers with my forged signature that I'm a 48-year-old guy living in Santa Clarita, California. Been here for over a decade. After my divorce, I bought this place by myself. It's a decent home with a detached guest house in the back. I worked my ass off for this property. I didn't get a dime from my ex. No handouts, no help. Just me. The guest house is fully set up, bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, the works. But I never rent it out. I've only ever let my brother stay there once when he had surgery, and that's it. Otherwise, it stays empty. Sometimes I store extra stuff in there or crash when I need quiet. So a few months ago, my next-door neighbor Dale, he's been around longer than me, starts getting too comfortable. Dale's always been one of those guys who talks too much. He borrows stuff and returns it weeks later, if at all. Always in your space, always has some kind of drama going on. But he never did anything too crazy, so I put up with it. Until he came over one night with a favor. He goes, "Hey Ron, my cousin just came into town. Real bad situation. Her boyfriend kicked her out. She's trying to get her life straight. You think she could stay in your guest house for a bit?" I didn't even let him finish. "No," I said. "Sorry, Dale. I don't do that. I don't rent it out. I'm not comfortable letting someone I don't know live back there." He pushed a little, asked what if it was just for 2 weeks. Said she was quiet. Said she wouldn't bother me. Still no. I told him firmly, "I'm not running a motel. It's my space, and I don't want someone else living on my property." He got quiet for a second, then laughed like I was being overly cautious. Said, "Okay, man." Had to ask. I didn't think much of it. Just figured that was that. The next morning, I walk out to check the backyard like I always do with my coffee. The guest house door is hanging open. At first, I thought maybe I forgot to close it. I get closer and see the frame is splintered. Deadbolts snapped clean off. Glass from the little window near the top is shattered on the ground. My heart starts pounding. I go inside, and there's a woman lying in the bed. In my bed. Under my sheets. She's completely comfortable, like she's been living there for days. I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" She opens her eyes like I just woke her up from a nice nap and says, "I live here." I was so stunned I didn't say anything for a second. "You what?" I asked. "I live here. This is my place now." She had blonde hair, looked maybe mid-30s, with faded makeup and a nose ring. She was barefoot, and her clothes were piled in the corner. "This is my guest house," I said. "You broke in." She shot back with, "No, I didn't. I was told I could be here." I asked who told her that. Before she could answer, Dale came strolling into my yard like nothing was wrong. He sees the situation and just goes, "Oh hey, everything good?" I said, "No, Dale. Not even close." He looks at the woman, and then at me. "It's not like you were using it, Ron. Like that's supposed to mean something." "Get her out of here," I said. "Right now." Dale raised his hands. "Hey, I don't control her. She needed a place. I was just trying to help." I called the police right then and there. While I was on the phone, the woman started screaming. "You can't do this to me. You promised me this was mine. I have the lease." I told the dispatcher there was a woman trespassing in my guest house and I wanted her removed. They said officers were on the way. The whole time we waited, she kept repeating that this place was hers. She said I signed a lease with her. She claimed I gave her the place for 6 months. I told her she was crazy and to get out. "No. I live here." He said it was okay. "I have paperwork." I didn't even know how to respond to that. When the cops showed up, I explained everything. I showed them my ID, the deed to the house, everything proving it was mine. They pulled the woman aside and searched her bag. That's when things got even weirder. She had a manila folder in there with a printed out lease agreement. It had my name and address. It had a lease term of 6 months and rent listed at $300 a month. It even had my signature. Except it wasn't my signature. It looked close, but not quite. The letters were too rounded, and I don't use cursive for legal stuff. Plus, I'd never sign a lease for someone I've never met. I told the officer. That's a fake. I never signed that. She kept yelling. He did. That's his signature. He gave me this place. Dale just stood there, arms crossed, saying, I don't know anything about that. I was just helping her find a place to stay. The officers asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. I wanted her gone. She'd broken in, forged documents, and tried to take over my space. They arrested her for trespassing and breaking and entering. She cried the whole way to the squad car, yelling, You can't do this. You said this was mine. The cops said she'd probably get booked and then released unless I followed through. I said I'd do whatever I had to. They asked if I wanted to press charges against Dale, too. I said I didn't know enough yet. But I was starting to. Because later that afternoon, I started going through my security cameras. And that's when I found the footage. The footage from my backyard camera showed everything. At 2:14 a.m., just after midnight the night before, I saw Dale walk into my yard through the side gate. He looked around like a damn thief. He was holding something in his hand. I zoomed in. It was a key. I watched as he walked straight up to the guest house. He tried the key. It didn't work. Then he took out a crowbar. He pried the door open. Kicked it twice. It gave way. Not even 5 minutes later, that same woman walked in behind him, dragging a duffel bag. Dale stood there with his hands on his hips like he was proud of himself. Like he was some kind of hero. Then he left. He let her in, broke the door, and just left her there like it was all totally normal. I felt sick. I backed up the footage, saved it on a USB drive, and the next day I went to the sheriff's station. Gave it to the detective who'd handled the trespassing call. He watched it with me in the room. I could tell by the way his face changed. He knew this wasn't some misunderstanding. This changes everything, he said. We'll bring him in for questioning. Later that day, Dale came knocking on my door. I didn't answer. I just watched through the peephole as he stood there, calm as anything. He knocked again. Ron. Can we talk, man? You didn't have to call the cops. She's got issues, all right? She didn't mean to freak you out. I didn't say a word. He waited for a bit, then said, Look, maybe I got carried away. But you weren't using it. I thought it'd be fine. Then he walked off like nothing happened. I locked everything. Changed every lock on my house and both sheds. Got a new deadbolt for the guest house. Even installed motion lights and added another camera pointing at the side gate. That should have been the end of it. But then I started getting letters. 3 of them, in the same week. All from some legal aid tenants group in Burbank. They claimed to be representing the woman. Her name was Tasha. Each letter claimed that she was a legal tenant and that I had unlawfully evicted her without following proper procedures. One of them even said I owed her $1,800 for emotional distress and improper notice to vacate. It was insane. They attached copies of the forged lease agreement. Same fake signature. Same rent terms. They claimed she'd paid the first month's rent, cash, to Dale on my behalf. Dale's name wasn't on the documents, but it was clear this whole thing was his idea. I didn't know whether to laugh or punch a wall. I called my lawyer, Mitch, who's a good guy and doesn't talk in circles. He read the letters and said, This is bad. They're setting you up. You're going to need to respond with hard proof. And fast. I gave him the security footage, the broken lock photos, and a copy of the police report. He started putting together a response. Then I got served. A sheriff came to my door and handed me a stack of papers. Tasha had filed a civil lawsuit against me. She was suing for wrongful eviction, breach of lease, and even discrimination. It was all based on the fake lease. I sat down and stared at the papers for a long time. I couldn't believe it. Some woman I'd never met, put in my house by my scumbag neighbor, had now dragged me into court. And the system was treating it like it was real. I called Dale. I didn't care if it was smart. I needed to say it. He picked up. Ron, look! I cut him off. You're a piece of trash. You broke into my place, forged my name, and now I'm getting sued. What the hell is wrong with you? He didn't deny it. He just said, "You really want to do this, man? You think you can fight this? I know people. This'll blow up in your face." That's when I knew he'd done this before. Maybe not exactly like this, but close. He knew how to work the system. He was counting on me being too overwhelmed or scared to push back. He didn't know me. I called Mitch and told him we were going all in. And the deeper we looked, the worse it got. Turns out Dale had helped at least 2 other people find housing by crashing in places that weren't his. One woman settled out of court. Another one, her landlord had a stroke in the middle of the legal process and gave up. I was starting to connect the dots. Dale was running some kind of scam. He targeted people who didn't have the energy or money to fight. He created fake leases, planted fake tenants, then either got cash from them or sued the homeowners once they freaked out. And this time, he picked the wrong guy. I wasn't going to let this slide. I was going to burn his whole scam to the ground. We started digging into Dale's history. Mitch hired a private investigator, nothing fancy, just a retired cop named Vince who still had access to public records and knew how to ask questions that got answers. Within 2 weeks, Vince came back with a report that made my stomach turn. Dale had a record. It wasn't long, but it was dirty. He'd been sued twice in the last 6 years, both civil cases. One was for unlawful rental fraud, the other for document forgery related to lease agreements. Both were settled quietly. And neither showed up on a basic background check. He wasn't listed as the defendant in either case directly. But his name was all over the witness lists and depositions. Both times, the actual defendants were friends of his who claimed Dale just helped them with the lease paperwork. Same pattern. He finds someone desperate, a woman, usually, with no job, no credit, and no family, and convinces her to move into someone else's property. He creates a fake lease, has her pay him directly, and tells her she's protected under tenant laws. If the owner caves, he gets free rent and some quick cash. If the owner fights, the woman sues, sometimes wins a settlement. It was a scam built on confusion and fear. I was the third one he tried this on. But I wasn't going to be the third victim. Vince also found something else. Dale wasn't even supposed to be living in his house. The mortgage was in his ex-wife's name. She moved to Arizona 2 years ago, and was letting him stay there under the condition he kept things quiet. If her bank caught wind of illegal activity, she could lose the house. That gave us leverage. Meanwhile, the lawsuit against me was heating up. Tasha showed up to court with a legal aid lawyer who looked bored and overwhelmed. Mitch filed a motion to dismiss with all our evidence, camera footage, police report, forged signature comparison, and Dale's background. But the court didn't throw it out right away. Tenant laws in California are strict. Even a fake lease has to be evaluated. So now we were stuck in a holding pattern, waiting for a court date while Tasha kept playing the victim. Then, a week before the hearing, someone threw a brick through my kitchen window. Wrapped in a towel. There was a note inside. It said, "Drop the case or we drop you." I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up with a baseball bat and a kitchen knife near my bed. The police came, took a report, but said without fingerprints or video, there wasn't much they could do. I knew who did it. Or who sent someone to do it. Dale. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called his ex-wife. Took a little digging, but I found her number in Arizona. Her name was Carla. I told her everything, how Dale was using the house, the fraud, the cops, the court case, everything. At first, she didn't believe me. Then I emailed her the court documents, and the footage of Dale breaking into my guest house. She called me back the same day. He what? That house is still under my name. I've got my kid's inheritance tied up in that place. I didn't need her to like me, I just needed her angry. And she was furious. She told me she was getting on a flight that weekend and coming to Santa Clarita. Meanwhile, Tasha doubled down. Her legal aid team filed a new motion, this time asking the court for a temporary restraining order against me. She claimed I was harassing her, even stalking her. That I was threatening her safety. I hadn't spoken to her once since the cops took her away. The TRO got denied, but it was clear they were playing the long game. They thought I'd crack. But something shifted the moment Carla arrived. She didn't knock. She pounded on Dale's front door with her luggage in one hand and a stack of papers in the other. I watched from my porch as Dale opened the door and instantly flinched. She screamed at him so loud I could hear every word across the yard. You forged my name on utilities? You lied to banks about your income? You gave away keys to my goddamn house? She went off. Within an hour, Dale was dragging his stuff out to the curb. That night, a tow truck showed up and took his car. 2 days later, a notice went up on his front lawn, foreclosure proceedings initiated. Carla wasn't playing. But the best part. She found another forged lease in one of Dale's desk drawers. One between him and Tasha. It had Carla's name on it, signed and dated. It claimed Tasha had a right to stay in the guest house for 12 months, starting the same week Dale broke into mine. We gave that to the court. And suddenly, Tasha's lawyer got very quiet. Still, the judge wouldn't drop the case just yet. The hearing was set. We had to wait. But something told me Dale wasn't done. I just didn't know what he'd try next. And I was right. Because the day before the hearing, someone tried to break into my house. This time, they weren't quiet about it. And I was ready. The break-in happened at 3:47 a.m. I'd been sleeping with one eye open ever since the brick through my window. Motion lights went off. My phone buzzed, camera alert. I checked the screen. A hooded figure was walking up to my back door with something shiny in hand. Crowbar. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my phone and called 911 while loading the shell into the shotgun I keep under the bed. Legal. Registered. Locked until that week. I didn't go outside. I didn't play the hero. I stayed put, aimed at the door, and waited. The figure jiggled the handle. Hit it once with the bar. The lights flashed again. The camera picked up their face just long enough. It was Tasha. When the cops showed up, she tried to run. She didn't make it far. They tackled her in the neighbor's yard and cuffed her right there in the dirt, barefoot, crying again. But this time, the sympathy was gone. Inside her backpack? Same forged lease. Another copy. More papers. Notes on what to say in court. A voice recorder. And a burner phone with text messages between her and Dale. He was coaching her. He told her exactly what to say in court. How to trigger me. How to spin everything to make her look like the victim. He even texted her. If he hits you or threatens you, we can sue him into the ground. And the kicker? He promised her 40% of any payout she got from me. I sent everything to my lawyer that morning. That same day, I filed for a restraining order against both Tasha and Dale. The judge approved it on the spot. Then came the court hearing. I walked in ready, with Mitch beside me, folders thick with every message, every photo, every video. Carla came, too. She was listed as a witness and brought her own stack of documents, including the forged lease Dale wrote using her name. Tasha walked in wearing a blazer 2 sizes too big, holding a worn purse and a notebook. No lawyer. Legal aid had dropped her. The judge didn't waste time. He went through the evidence piece by piece, asking her again and again. Did you speak to Mr. Ron before moving in? Did you receive a lease from him directly? Did you ever pay him any rent? She cracked fast. Blamed Dale. Said he told her it was all taken care of. That he'd said I was cool with it. That she didn't mean for it to go this far. But the court didn't care. The judge ruled in my favor on every single point. Tasha was ordered to pay damages for the broken lock, the attempted break-in, and my legal fees. Not that I expected to see a dime, but the ruling mattered. Her civil case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile. And Dale? He didn't show up. Didn't matter. Because 2 days later, he was arrested. Turns out the burner phone Tasha was carrying tied him directly to 3 other lease scams across the county. Carla pressed charges on her end, too, for fraud, forgery, and unauthorized use of her name in a legal document. He was facing 6 felony counts when they hauled him out of a beat-up rental car parked behind a liquor store. It made the local news. Santa Clarita man arrested in rental fraud scheme targeting homeowners. I sent a copy of the newspaper clipping to Carla. She sent back a picture of Dale's crap being hauled out of her house in garbage bags. Poetic. The weeks after were quiet. Peaceful. The kind of silence you don't realize you've been missing until it's back. I fixed the locks. Repainted the guest house. Took the cameras down, except for one facing the gate. Then, something unexpected happened. Tasha called me. She left a voicemail. Said she was sorry. Said she didn't know it would go this far. That Dale lied to her, promised her money and a place to live. Said she'd never done anything like this before. I didn't call her back. She made choices. And even if she was desperate, I couldn't forget the brick. The lies. The night she tried to break into my house with a crowbar. Some things you don't come back from. As for me, I learned my lesson too. I used to be the quiet neighbor. The keep the peace guy. The one who let things slide. Dale saw that and figured I'd roll over. But not this time. Not ever again. I don't care if it's awkward. I don't care if it ruins some fake sense of neighborhood friendliness. If you try to steal from me, lie to me, or bring danger to my home, I will make sure you lose everything. Just like Dale did. He picked the wrong neighbor. And now? He's going to remember me for the rest of his life. So will anyone else who thinks I'm an easy target. I'm done being quiet.